Thank you, and good morning. I'm really honored to be here. I'm going to be the first one who try to share you some snippets of knowledge or bullshit. You will decide. So I'm Daniel Molnar. I'm coming from Berlin, the unintended startup capital of Europe. At least there's something good in Brexit, you can say. And I work for Microsoft, and we were used to call it Sechs-Wunderkinder, and we made Wunderlist. Looking around, I already feel a bit old. I'm 40, and I'm already in data for like 9 years. And I did productivity, I did data tooling, real estate, music streaming, corruption research, automotive, sales, retail banking, and you name it. And I had all these kind of titles all this time, like head of data, data scientist, analyst, senior applied, and data scientist. That's what I'm right now. I used to be interim online marketing manager, but looking back at all these things, I had to realize that most of the time what I did was actually a data janitorship, so it's time for the coming out, I think, properly. And I will try to summarize my 9 years in half an hour. I will most likely be failing in this one, but I'm trying to give you a small and running talk that is the talk I would like to have 9 years ago, before I started all these things. This talk is going to be a bit opinionated, but whatever I tell you is about things that we have in production, and there's not going to be arrows and boxes and stuff. And maybe your mileage may vary, like we're not all the same. But yeah. Let's kick it. So, if you're still sleeping, you can just take a look at the slides, the first one, and you can leave and have a coffee, because it's going to be pretty simple in terms of message. So, I don't like to overcomplicate things, and whenever we do something or we did something, we realize that really, it only makes sense if you think in long. Data gives you the false hope that everything is going to be properly all right. And sometimes it's hard to let it go, like as the Germans say, like lasst das, and strive for good enough. And I think the most important thing I learned throughout these years, working with people who work with technology, and even myself, that just because you can do something, it doesn't mean that you should do that. Just be restrained a bit. I'm going to try to go through typical roles in startups. I worked with startups in these 9 years that are emerging related to data, and I try to do it in the general order as they start to emerge. Most likely, first, business wants some kind of data out of what they're doing, and unleash the first business analyst, whatever she's called, to try to do this talking to engineers. And here comes the first fun part, when the positivist approach of building things and earning money confronts with their realistic, dirty way of engineers trying to tame reality. And that's where first you see this kind of culture clash that, you know, the back-end engineers are sitting in the back doing their stuff, and here comes somebody who's looking for a unicorn or like a hockey stick, something like that. And I think that's my most important finding working as an analyst, is that you can't skip leg day. And I mean that it's very easy to get to a wrong understanding or a wrong conclusion if you don't really understand what's going on down the trenches. Show more humility than you would by default, I think. It's not enough, never enough. But if you're really the first one who's trying to work for this company doing data, then you got pretty big responsibilities, because you're the first one who actually comes up with the solid boxes, like what do we mean by user? What do we mean by active? What do we mean by cohort? You have to come up with these solid definitions that's going to be the foundations of things you build. It's not easy. Sometimes it's like really scary to nail down these things, but you have to do that. And again, you are going to be the first one who is solely responsible to show direction based on facts. Do that. This is, again, an underestimated thingy. That's called data quality. It sounds like that you're coming from the tube and saying that, this must be an order must line here and there. No, this is really important from day one to take care about the quality in what you're doing. Again, getting back to that, it's related to get to a wrong understanding if you don't know what's going on in the trenches. And your main domain, the kingdom of fuel, is going to be dashboards. Do them, make them. We had lots of different scenarios and industries, but we always came to the point that the KPIs that the business needs and provides are going to be pretty simple. If you can rule these ones, the typical things, with that meticulous attention to data quality that you have, you're going to be fine. Again, these are the most searched for and most mentioned acronyms, but still, don't try to reinvent the wheel, please. Attend to this basic understanding. Your approach. Again, you're going to confront a lot of people, and KPIs must hurt deeply inside. They should show you that where are you bleeding. It's not about having fun. It's not about like inventing a KPI that's going to be hockey stick just by itself and everybody's going to be happy. And again, if you set this path and start measuring something, you're going to go that direction. Make this decision wise. You can change routes, definitely, but most of the times you can just run in one direction at a time. You can't have like 3 most important KPIs. It's going to be a bit confusing. And I have this interesting idea. I think I've lived through it. It's what I call the Friday 70,000 test. It's like if your CEO runs into the office on Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock, and asks for something very, 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 very important to calculate just right now, ask her that, I'm telling you this right now, let's have this thought experiment. What do you want to do now? What will you do? What can you do with it right now at Friday, 5 o'clock? Always think about things that are actionable. Again, no vanity measures. Whatever you manage to figure out, you have to be able to use it some ways. Tool set. I would like to give you an idea of what we've survived with. Small things, easy things, and things that maybe can serve as some kind of a common language, lingua franca, when all these different actors interact. Okay. Yeah, the most used programming environment in the world. We estimated like 500 million people are using it to program things. It's ugly, you can't do version control and stuff in there, but still, it's out there, and you can just pull it out. SQL, use SQL. It's old, it's meant to be something that is going to be the main vector, what I'm talking about here. You have to rule that thing and use Metabase. That's an open source thing. Download it, use it, you're going to be happy. The heroes, these are free resources. You can check these presentations online. Yeah, I suck at Excel. I confess, I really do. And please watch Dan McKinley on how you actually make data-driven products. He's from Etsy. Most likely when the business analyst got stuck and can't answer any more questions and all the backend engineers just sending her away, leave us alone, there's the moment when the first data engineer emerges from the ashes somehow. That is the need for her. And the main message is that don't reinvent the flat tire. I will repeat it, don't reinvent the flat tire. I admire Alan Kay. It's very interesting and long story why Smalltalk didn't become the thing and why the whole Office Productivity Suite became the thing, but let's leave it for another presentation. If you are a data engineer, you're not born one, please don't just Apache it, don't just Hadoop it. Forget about it, please. Just for having the data, it's going to be really slow. You're going to introduce lots of dependencies that you don't want to manage. Don't real-time it and don't stream it, and don't over-engineer it. If you have some time in some years, you can do that, but don't start like this, please. We are guilty as charged. We tried all this. It's good, it's nice for as an experiment, again, but if you are trying to build something that makes money, run it with limited resources, please do it in a different way. I came to the conclusion that the only thing that makes a data engineer is like understanding falsehoods about names, locations, time, and all the entities that we think are just given in the universe. That's the way to embrace the dirty reality of things. And again, I think I've just seen this tweet yesterday. And we didn't even go to Mars. Think about time zones. That's going to be fun. Do the ETL dance. It's going to be your world. Do handle events. And yes, even in 2016, you can survive with a data warehouse. Thank you. After the business analyst, you're going to be the first gatekeeper of the data quality. And most of the times, you're going to be the one who owns the real sad truth that where do you leak? You're going to leak. You're not going to be perfect. But own your leakage, know your mileage, know what can you say, what's true, and about how much probability. And please do test. And yes, you can unit test data. It sounds funny, but you can do that, and in the long term, you're going to be happy. Again, helping the business analyst. Avoid garbage in, garbage out. You are the gatekeeper. What gets in the data warehouse must be okay and fun. Please don't introduce unnecessary layers of complexity. It's going to slow you down. It's going to introduce you undebuggable black boxes, and you have to hire 3 more people just to handle the crap you already built. Please push it to the metal. Yes, counting words was a good idea 10 years ago. But right now, big memory is eating big data. Nobody has been ever fired for loading a big file into memory and grabbing on it. If it's easy, just do it. I mentioned that we've been called Sechsfundekinder now, we called Microsoft. You can build cloud service agnostic tools and systems that are working on either AWS or Azure or wherever. It's going to be okay. It's out there, use it. I'm going to give you some examples again. Use Unix. It's out there for some decades, and in the recent decade, it has been introduced to billions of devices. It's going to be around for a while. Use Python. It's not the best for anything, but it's good enough for most of the things, and you can read it. Use SQL. Please don't do real-time first. It's a bad idea. Batch is going to be fine. We're still running with batch. It serves our needs. We got our tens of millions of users. They're fine. We open source 2 ETL toolsets. One is METL and one is Redshift. If you have lots of sources that are changing and crazy things are going on out of your reach, use METL. It even has a DSL. We use it in production as it is. You can use the same thing. And we have an approach that we build things that are like Unix philosophy, meaning we don't change it. We don't add features. We freeze it. The other ETL toolset is called Redshift. It's more like about handling dependencies and bigger data loads. Also, what you see on the internet and the GitHubs is the same code exactly that's running on production. You can use it bravely. Even tracking. A simple thing that's overcomplicated or a complicated thing that has been oversimplified. Wish I could say that we use something that's out there, but everything's just too blob. We made Humustro, it's out there. Again, it's cloud agnostic. You can use it on Microsoft, you can use it in AWS. I even deployed it on my Raspberry Pi. And the one that runs on my Raspberry Pi is stronger than what we need for Wunderlist now. So maybe you can think about getting out of the cloud because you don't need it. The log sanitizer thing I mentioned here is something that we use instead of map-reducing things. It's just 10 times faster than Hadoop, but you have a DSL. You can actually define your formats here and there. I again mentioned the data warehouses. There are so many good choices you can have. You can try WallDB. You can try the small vertical, the community edition 1 terabyte. Those are free, kind of. Or you can spend 100 to 200 euros per month on a hosted one. It will pay for itself. You could You could have done it otherwise, but it would have cost you much more in terms of manpower and hours charged on it. The heroes of the day, the definite one is James Mickens. Watch him. Dan McKinley again, why you have to choose boring technology. Kind of in unison what I'm telling you now. And Beasley on what you can do with this thing that's not good for anything, still you can solve everything with it. That's called Python. Then comes the data scientist, when there's like too much data. And again, don't. If you go out and talk to a random data scientist, most of the time she feeds on CSVs and produces models. That's the part of the tool chain. And while what's happening, what should be solved is like, you're not trying to figure out how gravity works in black holes, which is like, something that's kind of given for billions of years, and it's like a generic rule. It's hard to figure out, but still it's something universal. But you're trying to figure out the clickstream of drunken teenagers according to Halloween. So most likely you're going to see much more noise and much less signal than you'd expect. Don't overcomplicate it. Always keep in mind that Occam's razor is a very nice tool. And maybe this is going to be controversial, but I'm saying that don't A/B test, please. I mean, you can, but I will tell you why it's a bad idea in general terms. Only do it if it's really know that it will pay some monies. Finally, I think that data scientists could be moved a bit out of her comfort zone and talk more to users. We figured that sometimes data science is like, scratching your left ear with your right hand, trying to figure out something from dirty data, instead of just going there and asking a question. If it's simpler, do that. And again, it will be a better context of what you're actually trying to achieve. Always start, as in research, with qualitative methods. Try to get some understanding, then go to quantitative just. Yeah, make a survey. I think one of the best gain we had was like just asking 10,000 users of things, instead of trying to figure out the same things from like terabytes of dirty data. It worked. Yes, you have to embed yourself in teams and help, again, understand the teams, what they are trying to achieve, build personas, build entities together. And again, please have common sense, because I see a lot of people coming and migrating from academia, having really bright PhDs and knowing much more of statistics than me. But most of the days we're here to try and to solve a business problem or like a social problem, something that's more ingrained into the dirty reality of people. I had to put the XKCD thing in there because you have to have it in the presentation, but I made it small so you can see it. One hard part of being data scientist is that most of the times you're not a yes man to CEOs, say, yes, you're doing good. But most of the times you say, no, it's not working. And it's really hard, even in a personal level, to handle this kind of, I would say, realistic negativity, but still it's the only way. That's how science works. And you have to be really persistent, because your job's going to be hard. Because buying and try again, and I think the generic rule of thumb that out of 10 experiments, 1 will give you some kind of heads. That's true. The other hard thing about when you confront people with statistics is that correlation and causation is the big thing. And everybody likes to have a causation for Christmas. But most of the time, what they have is like a small correlation. It's hard. A/B testing. I'm going to speed up a bit because my time is going to be up. It costs too much. Most of the time, it just costs too much, and you're trying to fish some signal from the noise. And I accidentally made some kind of quotes here there. If you search for these bullets, you can find pretty nice papers on why it's happening. And my short version is that if there's like this spectrum of probability, it's like, I'm sure I don't know shit about it. I think that A/B testing is a bit like overvalued, because if you like do small data, then you have to go Bayesian, and then the probability just goes down, and then maybe it gets really close to that probability that comes out if you just do a user test, or just ask 10 people or 100 people, something like that. That's much easier to roll. So I think it has to be a sound business decision to go down this route. If you want to implement proper A/Bs of mobile clients, that will cost you money, that will cost you time. And if just like 1 out of 10 gives you any kind of heads, that will cost you much, much more money, and I think worse, time. Tool set. Yes, you also have to learn SQL. Academia doesn't like SQL, you use it. Buy Wizard, it's $80. It's a Macintosh software, it's done by Evan Miller. Most of the things that you have to do with data, finding out correlations, it will be covered. We tried all kind of stuff, free, not free. I would say that's the best price and effort ratio. Use Python if you have to, but please, if you can, skip R. I'm telling you this because this is going to make the computer science people very angry, and even as like we're living in a very democratic world, sometimes you get to the point that you think that not everybody should come up with languages. And there are points when R and JavaScript is kind of having the same idea about things. Sorry. Please check out Wizard. It's free for a trial. You can download it. And please check Chris Tukio on testing. I think they have some pretty nice ideas. If you really have to do things, how to shortcut here and there. Yeah, the 42 people. This is the latest generation of ourselves. Yeah, you don't need a PhD to do machine learning. Everybody knows that. And please, just use what's out there. I mean, if you're so good, then definitely going to be work for Google or somebody else, not like the next e-commerce startup. You can do machine learning in Excel, really. It's ugly, but you can do it. And please don't give false hope. Because, again, right now you're on that part of the hype cycle that everybody thinks that you're going to solve the world problems and nobody's going to be starving. Again, don't give us the best answers, but should it be fast? Remember Netflix. When Netflix had a competition to make the best recommendation algorithm, finally they just didn't deploy it because they couldn't deploy it. And by the way, the whole business went away by the time they got to the best idea. Please copy Kaggle. There are like hundreds of man-years of experimentation with different tools that are out there. So like, if you just like don't know anything about anything, get up drunk and then just do some ensembles, run them for us an XGBoost, most likely you're going to have something that's kind of okay and can be put there in pretty soon. Feature engineering is the thing where you can be really smart. Also, it's underestimated how important it is to build your own core data or feature sets that you use to enhance your own data and augment your own data. Not something just downloaded from the internet, but something that's like years of development and fine-tuning that can be a really important part of your company. Approach, the MailChimp way, the easy one. Build a model offline and redeploy each quarter a new one. If your business is not moving that fast, that should be pretty much enough. Again, hybrid approaches try to extract this core data set or feature set from people's minds, the experts, and try to use some vanilla machine learning. That could be a good first step to start out. Yes, you have to prepare your new role that you're going to be educate machines. I mean, we as humanity failed in education generally, if you look at the elections, for instance, in the States. But now we are trying to teach machines to get better. Learn TensorFlow, because very soon this centralist approach that we show all kind of dirty data from the same place and then try to run an algorithm, going to be distributed, and it's already there. Logic's going to be happening in the client, and your most important headache is going to be how to handle the different models generated or mutated on the end devices. Toolset, Excel. Wizard, again, we found it the best and fastest way to come up with ideas. And it doesn't hurt if you use a free online thing. I just put BigML as an example. If you want to have some big vanilla thing is running on a CSV, do that. You upload it, it's there, it's doing its stuff. And use Python. John Foreman wrote a book about how to do machine learning in Excel. It's interesting. You should check it out. And also, I can't pronounce Jaron Hansen's name. Written a book about data science in the command line. It's just working. It's good. No dependencies. Yeah, when you have a small team and you just emerge and have to kind of manage them and give them direction, then comes the head of data thingy. And that's the time when you really confront with everybody in the company, because they think that you know something. It's complicated. Don't believe the hype and trust no one. I think the most time we spent in the last years was just making benchmarks, because everybody's trying to sell everything, and you just can't believe them. So you have to check whether it fits your stretch. And never, 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 never let black box take over. You're going to be the one who going to be asked by the management why this is happening, why was this working yesterday, and why suddenly it just crashed today. What happened to the lovely model? You have to understand things. And don't expect hiring to be easy. Lots of good people are coming to the field, I think, but it's really, 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 really hard. And I think that my generic advice to data scientists is that please, 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 you also have to do a bit of legwork, and please learn technology more, so you can be more standalone. You have to maintain the data mythology. You're going to be the one that knows why that outage happened 2 years ago, why that sudden blimp happened on the dashboard. And you have to be able to keep this sense together. You have to understand what kind of things happened in the back end 1 year ago and why suddenly those metrics changed, because everybody else will be just forgetting about it. You have to handle emotions when talking to the other management peeps. You're going to be also one who sees the future in the same time. That's the hardest part. You will not see the future, but you have to. And maybe you can see that one. It's like the real nature of data is like, no. And you're going to be the main face to this whole circus. So like, most of the times you're going to be the bearer of the bad news. Say like, we just burned $100, sorry. And positivism of business always comes up with like, yeah, we're going to grow, and like, you know, sky's the limit. It's not true, but you have to admit it somehow. And again, one crazy version of causality is like, yes, all those people who have red caps, they like us. So let's make everybody else wear a red cap, and then gonna be happy. This kind of thing is called a cargo cult, like the inverse causality. Good luck handling that. I pinpoint marketing here now. It could be anybody, any department, but I'm just pinpointing marketing because marketing always has like a big budget in a company, and they belong to business, and business is always the trump. So the most conflicts you're gonna likely to have with marketing, because they just, again, burned 100 quids on something, and you're the one who has to tell whether it was like good or bad. First, enemy number one is Google Analytics. Most of the marketing people love Google Analytics because it has this charts, you click it, it moves. And they spend a lot of money on it, like on the AdWords part, for instance. Never forget that Google Analytics is a funny thing. If you look at the charts, they do sampling. You don't know how they sampled. It can be off by 20% in raw data. You have no user granularity. You can't access raw data. Maybe if you pay 150K per year, then you can. Memorize this line. You're going to be saying this a lot of times. Yeah. When you see these acronyms, you start Googling how bad these numbers are. Last time, I think Facebook videos had like a twofold mistake, like how many times have the videos been seen. It's not easy. It's not easy to get down to the details. And again, when you try to attribute that exact purchase with all these drunken teenagers at Halloween, it's going to be hard. You have to work a lot on these ones. When you see Net Promoter Score, run. 2 books related to management, I think. Disrupt is on startups, and the Gary principle is on generally big companies. Thank you. I try to be really machine gun-ish. I'm sorry. If you have any questions to me, please feel free to ask in person.